Welcome to Upticks with Jake Falcon, founder and CEO of Falcon Wealth Advisors. In this podcast, we help high net worth individuals overcome financial complexities. We do this by enhancing financial literacy and discussing topics in a language free from industry jargon. Join us as we help explain exactly what having a solid financial plan means, as Jake draws from years of experience in helping hundreds of individuals get financially organized and focused on their goals. We hope you find Upticks educational, entertaining, and shareable. Now, on to the show.
Welcome back to the show. This is episode 208, Retirement Reality Check. Cory, thank you for joining me back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You know, it's crazy how the season's here. Like, I feel like summer was just kind of getting going, and now fall is almost here. Do you feel that way?
I do.
Yeah, I think the
Summer
summer
flew
was
by.
pretty, what's that?
The summer just flew by.
Yeah, you know what? I think it was pretty extreme. It got like really hot and miserable. So it's not like we really had much fun and, summer fun, at least, from my standpoint. So, but, I do love fall. So I'm excited for fall to be here, certainly right around the corner. And thank you all for tuning in. If you're not already subscribed to Upticks, I have a big question for you. Why? Why aren't you subscribed? So this is our 200th episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. That's the best way to make sure you don't miss another episode. Also, if you think our content is any good, a thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, same applies. Why aren't you subscribed? Subscribe, get a little pop-up notification once a week when these things roll out, and you won't miss an episode. Also, if you think it's a 5-star worthy show, go ahead and give it 5 stars. We really appreciate that. We've had a lot of fun doing these. I've had thousands of downloads. People check out Upticks. That's really cool. And Cory, I know you've got your own show called In the Money Insights. Basically, the same applies to Cory's show.
That's right.
For today's show, though, Cory, we wanted to talk about Retirement Reality Check, because this show's really for both sets of clients. It's for people approaching retirement, and it's for people currently in retirement. And I think there's this huge misconception for a lot of people that they think retirement is going to be all sunshine and rainbows. And I'm not trying to put a cloud over retirement, but I want people to understand that you still are Cory Bittner when you go to retire. And a lot of your life won't change. And hopefully that's a good thing, because hopefully you're happy with your life and you enjoy your life. But I wanted to bring some questions to the forefront here. First, Cory, let's talk about your question that you always bring up on these shows. Is that if you are going to retire, what are you going to do Tuesday at 9 or 10 o'clock? And how do your clients typically answer this question, Cory? Because I know you ask it a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting. I find that some people haven't contemplated that. And it's almost like the reality check in and of itself is, gosh, what do I do if I wake up on Tuesday morning and I'm not going to work? So, some people just haven't given that enough thought, I think. But what we try to guide clients to is thinking about retiring to something and thinking about what they're going to do that's going to be meaningful to them, what's going to, fulfill and provide. Ultimately, if they are the same person and they bring the purpose to whatever it is that they are doing in retirement, the same way that they did when they're, in work, while they're working, I think that is meaningful for people, and it ultimately helps people maintain the sense of identity once their career is behind them.
Right. And I would encourage people to actually still run a calendar, believe it or not. Now, whether that's like literally like a physical calendar that you have on your fridge, or in your office at home or in your bedroom, or you get it on your phone, right? But I think time blocking, Cory, is important. So like if you're going to watch The Price is Right at 10 o'clock every day, put it on your calendar. Or if you're going to go to the gym 3 times a week, put it on your calendar. Because I think what people get into this trap, and when we see people struggle and get depressed, is that they lose their purpose and they don't have to go to work, so they feel liberated, they feel free, and they don't want to be committed to anything. But that actually ends up backfiring on them, and they find that, well, by having no commitments, they also have no purpose. And that is a very dangerous spiral to get into. And so again, a quick tip here is if you don't know what you're going to do Tuesday at 9, maybe you should schedule something. And I'm not saying you got to schedule every minute of every day. Nobody wants to do that. But maybe Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, you go to the gym or go for a walk or read a book. Maybe Tuesday, Thursday, you're with your grandkids. Maybe you play golf 3 days a week. Whatever it is, put it on the calendar, right? Give yourself some structure. We use time blocking in our career a lot. I use it all the time. Time block when I'm going to meet with clients, when I'm going to work on things with my team, when I'm going to educate myself, when I'm going to read. And so I don't expect that to stop in retirement, right? You're just shifting what you're putting in those time blocks, which should be the exciting piece of retirement, because you know what? You can put whatever you want in those boxes.
That's exactly right. May I share a real quick story, Jake?
Yeah, please.
So just last weekend, I should say, Matthew Tomlin on the team here, one of the financial planners, and I were at a car show for a foundation that we've worked with here in Kansas City. And I was talking with someone there that I actually met with probably 10 years ago. I haven't talked to in a long time, but I ran into him and we got to talking, and he told me he retired about 5 years ago. And I kid you not, the exact words that he used is that he lost his sense of identity. Yeah. And he hadn't given that enough thought. And here's what's so interesting, Jake. He bought, I think it was over 60 acres, he mentioned, somewhere in northern Missouri, where they're going to build a cabin. And he said, even with something like that, his intent was this was a place to go be with nature, relax, just be present. And he told me, he said, after I retired and I was going up there, I was driving up every week, basically working from sunrise till sunset, trying to get this thing exactly the way that it needed to be. But he's like, I was just applying the same thing that I was doing in my career to this. And he's like, I just was pushing myself to get through this as fast as possible because I wanted to have it done so I could enjoy it. He's like, and I really just needed to remind myself that I can slow down. It doesn't all need to get done right now. Like, I do need to readjust to retirement because the same pace at which my life operated isn't going to be the same moving forward. And I don't need to try to make it that way.
Right. And you got to enjoy the ride, right? It's so many people get caught up in this A to B. Well, once I get this log cabin built, I'll be happy. Or once we get to Hawaii, we'll be happy. Well, what about the long trip to Hawaii? You can enjoy a plane ride, believe it or not. You can enjoy a car trip. You can enjoy, building cabinets. You can enjoy all those things. And that's what life is. That's where people miss that. Life is those moments that all stack up on top of each other. So that leads me to my next question, Cory, and I've got it typed up over here on my other screen, but do you really think not working will make you happy? Because I think that's another big question about other misconceptions. They think, oh, I'm miserable at my job. If I just didn't have to come in here, I would be happy. But do you really think that'll make you happy? And if so, what will make you happy? If work is making you unhappy, I really challenge clients to think about, okay, your boss is a jerk, you don't like your job, it's boring, it's stressful, whatever. Then you need to start thinking about what will make you happy, right? And maybe going through that. And then this is a scary question. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but if you don't know what will make you happy, then will you ever be happy? And so there's this really good book that I read out there, or that I haven't finished reading it, but I listened to a podcast by the author, and he made a good point that he said that the studies have shown that people that are unhappy before retirement are also typically unhappy in retirement, sadly. Now you can shift that, you can change, but again, those people are allowing external stimuli to influence their internal behavior or their internal emotions. And I'm not saying that it's okay to get unhappy and sad and frustrated and stressed like that. That's all okay. But if you're constantly giving that energy and living in that state, you're probably going to be unhappy in retirement, right? Because you are so used and conditioned to being unhappy that it's just going to keep going. So again, we really want to help people. This is beyond the money, and the money is a big deal, obviously, and I don't want to discount that, but you can have $20 million, Cory, and be miserable, right? And so that's what today shows. Like, let's get a retirement reality check, and let's make sure that we've got some of these emotional, psychological boxes, checked off, that we're gonna skate into retirement and not get drug into it. Do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, that is really good advice for people to contemplate as they are thinking about their careers and their retirement, whether or not they're already there or retirement's right around the corner. But I do think, to your point, if someone is really looking at retirement as the escape from what it is they're doing, in all likelihood, the more unhappy somebody is in their career and their job, whatever it may be, the more they're building retirement up to be this,
Right.
this is what I've always dreamed of. This is going to be everything I want it to be. And to your point, there's an adjustment period for people. And the more that we build something up, in all likelihood, what happens is, the higher the likelihood we are to be disappointed. And that's not to say that someone's retirement is going to be disappointing. But to your point, sometimes it can be, mundane from day to day, right? Every day is not going to be full of playing golf and traveling and spending time with the grandkids and everything else. Sometimes, life just happens as it happens. And if people are really just looking forward so much to escaping from retirement and build up these expectations for what it's going to be, I think that reality check and evaluating what's important, what matters, what they want to do with their lives is critical.
Right. Right. And I alluded to stress a little bit because stress is such a big thing, particularly in, I think, Western society, because I don't know why. I don't know if it's a byproduct of the industrialization or capitalism or whatever, but I feel like a lot of people say, well, Jake, I'm so stressed. I'm so stressed. I'm so stressed. I got to get out of here. It's really starting to harm my health. And I certainly don't want anybody's health to be harmed because of where you're working, right? That's the last thing you want, is that if you just reframe and you understand that stress is good for you, and that it basically is, you can use it as a challenge, or it's because it means you care about something, or however you frame your mindset, you actually can hopefully live a healthier life and a happier life. Just literally, Cory, by straight. So again, and you see these all the time. Like you and I live close to each other, and if I'm listening to a podcast on the way home, or I'm talking to Rachel on the phone, and you're in a hurry because you have to go play tennis, we could literally be on the same road experiencing the same level of traffic, and that could be a stressful situation for you, and it could be a very peaceful situation for me, even though we're experiencing the exact same stimuli, right? And so that's what I'm getting at, is it's all about our perception of it. Now, it's very hard, and I don't know anybody that's mastered this, right? It's just so that you can start rethinking the way that you think about stress a little bit, because it's not always necessarily a bad thing. If you think it's bad, but it doesn't necessarily have to be bad. Go ahead, Cory.
That's really interesting. I think it in a lot of ways that sort of goes against what I think a lot of advice that people hear and read and see today. I think people so very much actively try to avoid putting themselves in any stressful situations, or people want to do everything that they can to prevent themselves from feeling stressed. Being alive and life can be stressful. There's no way to avoid that, but the way that you feel about it and the way you respond to it is what matters.
Right. So if we can change and we shift our perception, maybe you'll be healthier, maybe you'll be happier, right? Another question I wanted to bring up today was, like, do you have friends outside of work? A lot of people, especially if you've worked somewhere 20 or 30 years, you lose touch with your high school friends, your college friends, and people that maybe you raised kids, and now your kids are grown and gone, so you don't see your kids' friends' parents anymore, right? So you got to be careful of that if your whole community is at work, your friend community, and you retire, well, now you're going to have to either make new friends, make an effort. We have a lot of clients, I love to hear about this, that they'll go have lunch once a month or once a quarter with their old coworkers, right? To catch up and to laugh and have a good time. I think that's really smart of them to do that. But you need to think about that, because, and I value that I've got a relatively small community. I mean, I have a lot of acquaintances, but I don't have like a huge friend group that I would call my close friends. So I don't need a lot of people, but I do value the relationships and the friendships that I have. And you have to spend time nurturing that and doing that. It's just healthy. I mean, there's more. I'm sure we could find another TED Talk on the benefits of having a community, right? So my point is, you don't want to go into retirement in isolation, and you don't want to go in it just with your spouse, right? Because again, I think it just pays to have a network of other people, even if it's a small one, to have that community feeling, that relationship, That just, as humans, I think we're meant to have some sort of family, even if that's not like your blood family, but it's a sense of belonging, right? Of a group, of a social group. And I'm not talking about on Facebook, right? I'm talking about literally meeting with people, right? And having lunch with them, or doing a healthy activity, right? Or something.
Yeah, and I think in the spirit of your show here today, which is the retirement reality check, I think whether it's friends, acquaintances, a sense of community, however you want to think about it, having a plan for what a social structure in retirement is going to look like is important, because that social structure is what we need.
Yeah, put it on your calendar.
Yep.
Yeah, like, so, call up your old friend and colleague, say, hey, you want to go to lunch next month? I haven't seen you in a while. I haven't talked to you in a while. I want to catch up. And the beauty is, if you have any coworkers that you didn't like, you don't have to go to have lunch with them.
That's right.
Right. So that's what's great about retirement, is that there's an abundance of choices to make. But what I'm getting at today is, I just want you to make those choices. I want you to think about those choices. I don't want you to go into it blindly. And if you're in retirement right now and you're just kind of floating around, maybe some of these things are making you think, you know what, I should do that. I should go reconnect. I really enjoyed working with Cory, right? But I haven't talked to him in 3 years. That's ridiculous. I should look him up and go grab lunch. You might be surprised at what you come across and the enjoyment that you get from it.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think just an example of this, like in my own life, is, every so often, and a lot of the times it's a consequence of social media, Facebook, whatever it might be, of just staying connected with people, even if it's sort of a passive connection. But, there's people that I went to high school with, I guess 15 plus years ago now, right? And there are people all the time that I end up reconnecting with because of something on social media or something on Facebook. And I enjoy that so much, reconnecting with people, because one, people change and it's fun and interesting to see what people do. But two, I think it just speaks to the connections that we desire, the connections that it's important that we have in retirement,
right,
or while we're working, just in general.
Right. That's good. That's good. It's about the community there. Couple more thoughts I wanted to bring up. This one, I'm not trying to encourage any breakups here, but do you really love your spouse? I think a lot of people get caught up in their careers, and they sadly drift apart, right? They raise kids, they both have their own career, and then next thing you know, Cory, boom, they're retired and they're back together, staring at each other. And I'm not telling you that you need to go to marriage counseling or get a divorce, but you probably need to rekindle that relationship with the person that you agreed to spend the rest of your life with, and make sure that love and that affection is still there. And it can be a very exciting time, because again, you guys, got married, if it was at a young age or whenever, and then you had this whole kind of separate life, and now it's the two of you again, which can be very exciting, right? And so I love to hear about clients getting to spend more time with their spouses than they did before, and they're traveling and they're making memories and enjoying each other. But you need to work on that. I don't think that's just something that comes natural. I think you need to be aware of it. It's like, oh yeah, I married this person, I love them, I've been so caught up in my career and helping provide for the family. I've spent, if you think about it, Cory, you probably spent half your week away from this person, and now you're with this person all the time. And so that's a huge deal, a big adjustment, and something you want to be aware of, and when you're rekindling your love of your spouse. It's important.
Yeah, and I think at the very least, if you're married and you're going into retirement, just having some alignment with your spouse and what retirement means to both of you, having some vision for what that's going to look like, I think, because it just helps people get in alignment. But I've had a client who, jokingly, Jake, has likened this to, like, my husband or my wife and I have both gone to work for 30 or 40 years, and they've likened retirement to, like, they're home feeling like they're stuck in a telephone booth with their spouse.
Yeah.
Like, we're right next to each other, and our lives haven't been like this in 30 or 40 years. And some people don't spend enough time thinking about what that really means.
Yeah, and you can get sick of each other pretty quickly. Doesn't mean
happen.
You don't love your spouse, right? I'm not saying that, but you need to think about that, right? Because you don't want to drive each other crazy, and you'd hate, and it happens. You don't want to see a divorce happen, and it happens though. And maybe that's okay. Maybe sadly that needed to happen decades ago, and retirement brought you to that conclusion. But, ideally you recognize, like, oh yes, I love this person. We've both kind of been in our own world a little bit. Now we can truly enjoy each other while still having our own identities, right? So I'm not saying that you do need to be in that telephone booth with somebody. I don't think that's necessarily healthy. Um, but again, just something to be aware of, right? Like, hey, and it's okay if you guys have different aspirations, by the way, for retirement. If somebody wants to travel and the other one doesn't, you know what? That doesn't mean you need to get divorced, right? You don't need to be connected at the hip with your spouse. It just, you need to understand, like, do I love this person? Why do I love this person? And how do I want to spend the next 30 years? Because it's going to be a whole lot different than the last 30 years. And that's something that you need to embrace and you need to talk about. It's healthy to talk about it.
Yeah. And to your point, if one person wants to travel and one person doesn't, it's still the same concept applies, is that it's better for you to be on the same page about that. So you understand and have the right expectations in retirement.
Right. And again, it's okay. Or somebody wants to keep working and the other person doesn't, that's fine too. Yes. Right. You don't have to match, right? It just, I think the love needs to be there. Like we're a couple experts, but we literally met with hundreds of, you and I haven't been married. I've been married 5 years, right? And I'm still learning a lot about that and how that works. How long have you been married now, Cory? 3?
October will be 3 years.
3 years, yeah. So I'm not saying that we are love experts here, but what I'm getting at though is we've literally had thousands of meetings with clients, and this type of stuff comes up. Especially, it's always a joke, like, oh, are you going to drive the other person crazy? Because maybe one of the spouses is already retired or has worked from home or has worked in the home. And now you get this person that they're used to being gone 40, 50 hours a week, all of a sudden going to be there. And like, don't start disrupting the flow of the house because this person has a routine and a system and they're happy. So that's typically how it gets brought up. And it's usually a joke, but I think it's important to bring up for today's show because like, let's do a reality check and let's have that conversation with your spouse so you don't drive each other crazy. Right. Because that's what we're looking to avoid. And by doing that. And then my last point is, and again, I think we've already kind of alluded to this, but what is really important to me, that's what you need to focus on with this retirement reality check. So all this other stuff can be fluff. Yeah, my spouse wants to travel, don't want to travel. Yeah, I have friends, I don't have friends. Stress, I get it. I don't like my job, Tuesday at 9 o'clock, I get all that, but you really it really all boils down to what is really important to you. Right. And what is your purpose? What do you want to do in life? And what gives you energy? What gets you motivated to wake up every day and go out into the world and hopefully make the world a little bit better than it was the day before? And that's hopefully what you're trying to accomplish and get aligned with. And whatever that is, that's on you and that's up to you. And that's what's exciting and scary about retirement. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Cory?
Yeah, I think that sums it up nicely, Jake. I just wanted to add, I read this in a blog as I was thinking about the show before we recorded it. I was reading a few different blog posts and I read this. There was one that started this question about retirement, right? And things to think about beyond just the finances. And this blog post started with the question of, what have you been waiting your whole life to do when you think about retirement? What have you dreamed about doing? What do you still want to learn? But I think having that big question in bold, what have you waited your whole life to do, is a good way to think about what is really important to me. What is my purpose? Because that's a really big sort of heady question to think about. Like, what have I been waiting my whole life to do? And what is, the next chapter going to look like for me in retirement? And the more intentional that someone can be when they enter into retirement, and the more they recognize who they are, what's important to them, what they want the relationships in their lives to look like, and how they're going to spend their time, the higher probability of success that someone's going to have in retirement, at least the higher probability of happiness.
Right. No, that's good. I love that. It makes a lot of sense. And again, just drill down there and let's go do what you've been waiting to do.
The time is now.
And that ties it all in. We'll tell you if you can afford it. Right. Or we'll help you figure out a way to align your investments so that you can go do, what you've always been waiting to do. So good. Well, Cory, thank you for joining me back on the show. Thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully this, made a light bulb go off on your brain a little bit. Again, we're just doing a quick retirement reality check-in. This is, again, the core of our practice of what we've been focusing on for over a decade now. And again, literally have hundreds of clients going through this, so you're not alone. If you have questions, you can always set up a meeting with myself or Cory or one of our financial planners. We're happy to have this conversation and make sure that you feel confident pass the money. Again, we're going to make sure you got healthcare, Social Security, retirement, all that lined up. Obviously, we're going to make sure we're going to get all those boxes checked. But we want to go past the money here a little bit and make sure that you not only are financially happy, that you're emotionally happy as well.
This has been a great show, Jake. And I just want to thank you for, this has actually provided me some inspiration in thinking about my own show and going beyond just the finances, because I do think in some ways, I think a lot of what we've talked about here today is, while it's a lot of questions that, we've asked and encourage people to ask themselves, it's just sort of unconventional retirement advice, right? Because at least for me, it's easy to get caught up in recording each and every show about what's going to happen with the midterm elections, what do interest rates and the impact that those have on the stock market, what's going on with the Federal Reserve, et cetera. That's all critical and important to what it is that we do for clients. But this is a whole nother side of it that should not be neglected.
Right. Some would argue this is more important sometimes. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, to your point, if somebody can have $20 million and be miserable, maybe this is more important.
Right. Good. Well, thank you, Cory. I know we're about wrapping up today. Got any plans? We're recording this on a Friday morning. Got anything going on this weekend?
Not too much this weekend. Well, I guess, my wife's vehicle is on a lease, and we are actually finalizing buying it at the end of the lease tomorrow. And we're going to be doing some packing. We're leaving in a couple weeks for Greece.
Awesome.
Which I've never been over the pond before, so this is my first time. If anybody has any recommendations, I'm wide open to them, but we're really, really excited.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, we went to Greece on our honeymoon, and great food. Don't drink too much ouzo, and make sure you spend a lot of time. Is it the Acropolis?
Mm-hmm.
That thing is legit. We really, really enjoy. I'd wear some comfortable walking shoes though, but that thing was legit. And there's a little museum there. We didn't get a chance because we didn't allocate enough time. So I'd encourage you to try to check out the museum also, because
it's already booked.
Look at you. So yeah, you're gonna have a blast. Good for you.
Thank you.
And have good luck buying that car. That's never fun.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It doesn't really bother me.
They just take forever. They take a long time, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like Rachel and I bought our cars the same day, which was she has a newer car since then, but I just feel like you're in there forever. I don't know why it takes so long. I don't know. To me, I think they need to speed up the process.
I'm going to ask tomorrow. Why does this process?
I bet you're there 3 hours.
Okay. You know what? That's where we'll set it. We'll see. I will report back.
All right. Report back. 'Cause I bet you're there 3 hours. And it's just, you got the money, you're not paying cash. I'm sure you make payments or whatever. You sign on the dotted line. Let's go. I bet you're there 3 hours. Watch. Good luck.
Thank you. I'll need it.
But it can be an enjoyable experience. There's other cars to look at while you're waiting around.
That's exactly right.
So perfect. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and we hope you have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Upticks. Click the subscribe button to be notified when new episodes become available. Also, be sure to visit our website, falconwealthadvisors.com, and click the Contact Us button if you'd like to meet with Jake and his team.